There is a skeleton in a museum in the Netherlands. It was pulled from the ground at a Roman fort, Castellum Flevum, on what was once the Rhine frontier. The man it belonged to was between 25 and 30 years old when he died. Young. By the standards of Roman military service, not even halfway through his contract. But the bones didn't match the age. The spine was already degenerating. Not the spine of a man in his 20s. The spine of a man who had been loading and carrying weight the human back was never designed to carry. For years. Without adequate rest. Without adequate recovery. The right arm told the same story. Articular degeneration. Joint surfaces worn in ways that only come from sustained, repeated, heavy load. The body of a man who had been doing the same punishing physical work, over and over, until his skeleton began recording it permanently. He was 25 to 30 years old. He had 15 to 20 years left on his contract, and his body was already breaking down. You signed at 17. At 17, your body was the best it would ever be. Young. Resilient. The kind of body that absorbs punishment and recovers overnight. That marches 20 miles, feels it in the morning, and is ready again by noon. The body Rome wanted when you stood before the recruiter, and he looked at your legs, your hands, your posture, and your teeth. Your teeth. The recruiter checked your teeth because teeth were functional equipment. A soldier who couldn't chew his rations couldn't maintain his strength. At 17, yours were fine. By discharge, they wouldn't be. The military diet. Grain, mostly, ground and baked and eaten day after day, was not kind to teeth. The grinding process never fully removed the grit. Stone fragments, microscopic but constant, were in every meal. For 25 years, you chewed grit. Slowly. Invisibly. It wore the enamel from your teeth the way sandpaper wears wood. The veterans who showed their gums to Germanicus during the Rhine Mutiny. The men who grabbed his hand and shoved his fingers into their mouths so he could feel where the teeth used to be. They weren't performing for sympathy. They were showing him the physical record of 25 years of military rations, written in bone and gum and the gaps where teeth used to be. Your teeth were going the same way. You just couldn't see it yet. The knees started talking around year 10. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. A particular stiffness in the morning that took longer to work out than it once did. A specific ache on the descent that wasn't there in year 5. The right knee slightly worse than the left. A consequence of the way the scutum's weight distributed across your body on the march. 60 pounds of kit. 20 miles a day. On Roman roads. Roman roads were engineering marvels. Hard-packed stone, cambered for drainage, built to last centuries. And they did last. What they did to the joints of the men who marched on them for 25 years is written in the bones archaeologists have been pulling from frontier forts for 2 centuries. Stress markers on the knee joints. Abnormal bone growth at the muscle attachment points. The skeleton restructuring itself around the demands being placed on it. Not elegantly, not cleanly, but permanently. The cartilage compressed and wore. The damage was structural. No amount of rest at discharge could reverse it. The back was worse. The vertebrae of Roman soldiers who completed full service show compression. Disc spaces narrowed by years of loaded marching. Osteophytes. Small bony projections the skeleton grows when it has decided a joint is being overworked, lining the edges of the vertebrae. A man of 40 who had served 20 years had the spine of a man of 60. You knew this without x-rays. You knew it every morning when you stood up and your back ran its inventory. Last night's ground, yesterday's march, everything that had come before. You knew it in the slight postural adjustment you developed without thinking about it, unconsciously redistributing the load. A body quietly solving its own damage and getting less efficient at it with every passing year. The right arm was its own story. The gladius weighed about 1 kilogram. The scutum between 5 and 10 kilograms. You had held them, trained with them, drilled with them, fought with them, for 25 years. Thousands of hours of the same motion, the same load, the same joints rotating through the same range of stress. The right shoulder socket worn differently than the left. The muscle attachment points on the humerus overgrown and remodeled. Reaching above your head was different now. You'd stopped sleeping on your right side around year 15 because of what it did to the shoulder in the morning. The body Rome had built for war was not built for anything else. Then there was the damage nobody counted, the noise. 25 years of battle noise. The crash of shield walls. Metal on metal, amplified by the helmet sitting directly on your skull. The screaming of 10,000 men. The percussion of a pylum striking a shield at 15 meters. Roman helmets covered the skull and cheeks but left the ears open. By design, for situational awareness, you had been going deaf for years. Gradually, the higher frequencies first. Then the mid-range. The way you now had to ask men to repeat themselves in a crowded room. The way you processed the Centurion's morning orders partly on lip reading. The ringing that had started sometime in your second decade and never fully stopped. Loudest in the silence before sleep. There was no word for it in Latin. The Roman army did not count it as an injury. It did not appear on your discharge document. The body had simply absorbed what the legion put through it and recorded it the only way bodies know how. Permanently. You don't look 42 by civilian standards. You look older. The skin, the posture, the way you move. All of it carrying the record of 25 years of service. The veterans who made it this far alongside you all had the same look. Not the look of old men. The look of men who had been used by something large and thorough and had come out the other side still functional, but changed in ways no discharge document acknowledged and no civilian doctor had vocabulary for. You could still march. You could still fight if you had to. But every step was in the knees. Every morning was in the back. Every cold night was in the right shoulder. The teeth were what they were. The ears rang. The archaeologists who find your skeleton 1,500 years from now will not need your service record. The spine will tell them. The knees. The arm. The muscle attachment sites remodeled by decades of identical loads. They will read it the way a doctor reads an X-ray. They will know you were a soldier. They will know approximately how long you served. They will know what Rome asked of the body it recruited at 17 and discharged at 42. The bones don't lie. They never did. They just record.